meeting for the Plum Borough School District Board of Directors meeting to order, and we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Vento, roll call, please.
Mr. Colella,
Here.
Mr. Dowdell,
Here.
Mrs. Gallagher. Here. Mr. McGuff is absent this evening. Mr. St. Ledger.
Present.
Mrs. Stepnick, absent. Mrs. White. Here. Mr. Zuko.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Vento. The board met in executive session on August 4th and this evening, August 25th, 2015, to discuss matters of personnel, student confidentiality, real estate, and litigation.
Approval of minutes. Recommend approval of the following meeting minutes: July 21, regular board meeting, August 4, special voting meeting, and August 4, committee of the whole.
I'd like to make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. At this time, we'd like to have comments on agenda items, please, for this evening. Comments on agenda items. Do we have comments on non-agenda items for this evening?
Good evening. My name is Michael Riley. I live in Regency Park. I want to thank the ladies and gentlemen for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. Reason I'm here today is we are requesting a transfer waiver for Connor and Mara Riley. They're 7 years old and about to enter into the first grade. There's been precedence for this kind of request in the past. Last year, they were granted a waiver to attend Holiday Park Elementary School due to daycare obligations. The flexibility that we have with our daycare took us a long time to find the right daycare that fit our needs as a family, the structure, the values we look for in it, the flexibility of our schedule. And we're requesting that again this year to attend Holiday Park Elementary as opposed to Regency Park for the first grade. Everything we need at the daycare we're currently at is what we're looking for. It suits our needs, it suits our children's needs, and pulling them out of that would cause them a hardship, and it would cause all kind of other problems just for our family in regards to how we work on a daily basis, day to day. We understand that there's a policy in place, and Policy 206 pretty much out of hand denies all requests for waivers, but we did notice that within the policy that with a board vote or permission from the superintendent, you can grant this waiver. So tonight we're asking for that waiver for these guys. I appreciate your time, and I hope you are able to take a look at this and make a decision that will benefit our children as well as many other children in the borough and many other working families in the borough that have to make these kind of daycare decisions in order to make their daily lives work and make sense. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Riley.
Good evening. My name is Kim McDermott. I'm here on behalf of my daughter, Alyssa Menon, and my granddaughter, who will be starting kindergarten at Center Elementary this year. My concern is a safety issue this evening for the bus stop. There was a change made this year. Previously, the bus stop was directly across the street from their home at the intersection of Carriage Drive and South Wingate, where other children have boarded the bus safely for years. This year, there was a change, and it was moved to the end of the street, which is approximately a third of a mile away. There are no sidewalks on the street, and there are multiple cars that park along both sides of the street. So she would have to walk a 5- or 6-year-old along this road through traffic, through inclement weather. And we really feel that there's a safety consideration that needs to be taken there. With a background in education, I know that each situation is unique, and I know that you have to consider the unique situation of each individual child. My daughter Alyssa has contacted the school to describe that situation and the special needs that would need to be taken into consideration, and I appreciate your time this evening. Thank you.
Could I have your address, please?
Her address is 127 Carriage Drive.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any additional comments?
Harry Schlegel, 125 Winchester Drive. Is anyone up there aware, besides myself, of the 5 rights enumerated in the First Amendment? Congress shall make no laws establishing a religion. Freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom to assemble peacefully, and the right to petition the government for redress. Now, there was a lot of comments made on Facebook. I'm not on Facebook, but from things I heard about my right to have a petition and the rights of others to have a petition. In 2.5 weeks, I got 935 signatures on a petition to stop Regency School from being built, because it's not needed and we can't afford it. I'd like to present that if somebody wants to come down, and I'll give it to them, or I'll give it to you afterwards. So there is the right to petition. I'm not an employee of the school district. If you want to make me an employee, I love it. You provide me health care, annual raises, as well as a pension. So I do these things on my own time in an office where everything is paid for by me. So let's talk about a couple issues in addition to Regency, and I'll get into that. Since this is tax season, people are angry when they're coming in. They have to write me large checks, which I in turn turn over to the borough and school. So some of the issues: high taxes. Some ask why there's no break for seniors. 12 other states have that. That's a state issue, not a school board issue. Why is the Holiday Park School off limits? Is it because it's still under construction? Or are we who pay for it not going to be allowed to go up there and walk, as they have done in the past? The teacher's contract. Raises. Several people that I'm aware of that come to my office are frozen in their jobs. They don't get any raises. Those that do, 0.5%, 1%, 1.5%, 2%, an exception, 3%. Recent raises were in the 4% range. Last week with the stock market issues, IRAs and 401s take a big hit. A lot of seniors, myself included, don't have time to recoup. We just don't have the years. Why, they ask, do I take the hit and school employees don't? Why do I take the hit and have to make them whole? Hence the pension problem within the state. Why, in particular teachers, they're not very popular right now. Why are teachers insulated from economic realities when we, who pay the taxes, have to live with those realities? I can't answer that question. Maybe you guys can. Issues of accountability with the recent teacher things we had going on in the past, and hopefully it'll remain in the past. An accountability issue. They're concerned that the union knew it, previous administrations knew it, no one did anything. They're concerned about lawsuits coming up and them having to pay it. I don't think you have any money in your budgets for lawsuits. I don't know how much insurance will cost. These are the issues, while they're there paying their taxes, that I've been hearing for the last 2 weeks. There's many others, but these are the main ones. Now let's get to Regency Park. overall enrollment in our school district is down. Has been declining for years. I went to the Pennsylvania Education website, last 8 years, got all the data. It's been steadily declining. I'm estimating, and I've heard, we have 226 students coming in as kindergartners. Give or take a few over the next 13 years, that's your graduating class. How many sixth graders do we have that are moving out of elementary into middle school and from middle school into high school? Our student population is less than 4,000. Put some numbers together based on what I've heard and what I've read. When you look at construction cost, bond issuance cost, insurance, you're talking $14 million plus. I'll just go with $14 million. We can't afford that. For 220 students, we cannot afford that. What did the new holiday park Adlai Stevenson / school cost? What did O-Block cost? I haven't heard anything, because I've asked, I haven't heard anything on a plan on how you're going to finance this. How would you finance that school? I'm guesstimating if you close Regency, $700,000 in savings. Eventually you do away with Holiday Park, you should get about the same amount. You're ignoring that. You're not getting any cost savings from economies by combining. And I had two people approach my office. I hope they were joking. They wanted to start a petition so they could have a neighborhood school in their neighborhood, Logan's Ferry and Ramparts. If people can have a neighborhood school, why can't they? I hope they were joking. Test scores. Well, let's move on to another subject because they're not real good. And if you build Regency, how do you plan on putting resources in the classroom if you're spending the money to build a school that in a couple of years we're not going to need? If Harry Schlegel's wrong and the student population booms, I'll come to you in a couple of years and say, you were right, and you got to scramble to build a school. But if Harry Schlegel was right, we're going to spend $14 million plus and have a school we don't need. You know what the demographics are. You know what the student population is. You understand the enrollments. And you sit here and tell me we need more new schools. And if you can't put resources in the classrooms we currently have where they're needed because you don't have the money, you talk about the kids, that's cheating the kids. You can do a lot better than what's going on right now.
Mr. Schlegel, just letting you know, we try to keep comments to 5 minutes. I know we've let you go,
All right.
but if you could wrap it up.
Well, you got 935 people in 2.5 weeks who are against building the school. They're from Regency. They're from Logan's Ferry. They're from the Ramparts. They're from Holiday Park. They're from the Highlands. They're from Windy Oaks. They're all over Plum. They don't want it. They don't feel we need it. They don't want to pay for it. Give me more time. I'll get you another 1,000 signatures. The thing is, you can go ahead and build Regency. Not a good deal. So please, I understand my time's up. Would somebody back there who wants to speak forward, would you give me a couple minutes of your time? Would someone give me a couple minutes of their time? Gentleman gave me a couple minutes of his time.
Mr. Slagle, just wrap it up.
I'm going to wrap it up.
Thank you.
You guys, you got 8. Need 9. You have 8. What if it's a tie? We say, the community say, take it to a judge. Or better yet, 935 people plus the ones I didn't get are saying, put it on a referendum and then spend our money. Because see, they don't believe you know how to spend our money wisely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Jennifer Wells, 418 Regency Drive. I also got a petition. I went down to the borough office. I received a permit to walk the neighborhood. I don't have 900 signatures, but I do have 300 plus signatures. And most people have told me how Harry lied to them when he went into their office, and he's telling them how he's scaring them that their taxes are going to increase by millions of dollars. I've had 3 older people come to me, and you know what? I'll bring them tomorrow. I will absolutely bring them tomorrow, because it upsets me that he would tell them complete lies. And as far as our test scores go, Regency Park is the 2nd highest scoring elementary in Plum. That just, it blows my mind that he thinks our test scores are so bad. I'll have more tomorrow, Harry. I wasn't really prepared to come up this evening, but that's it. I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me.
You know,
excuse me.
You can come say I'm out of order and I'm not going to obey it. Get an officer and arrest me because I do not like lies being told. What I told the people, and it was a statement made by the bond counsel at the last meeting, that the taxes in 2017, if you go forward with it, not the taxes, the interest on the bonds will go up $1 million from 5.9 to $7 million. I told them their taxes would go up if they build Regency, not the taxes. The interest would go up $1 million a year starting in 2017. Look at last month's meeting, and you will see that the bond counsel made that statement. So bring the people down. I want to talk to them because I do not like innuendos.
Excuse me.
Bring them down, I will talk to them.
Mr.
Any other
Slagle.
questions you have for me?
Mr. Slagle, the idea of public comments is to give anybody who wishes an opportunity to speak to the board. If you have an argument with what somebody said, I think the two of you could go out in the hall and debate it all you want.
That's fine. If they make a comment on TV where it's being broadcast to the public, I'm going to correct it. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Leanne Weiss. I live at 425 Vale Avenue. And I would like to ask the board to throw out the petition that was just presented to you, because I too know that that is based on lies. And I feel that it's terribly unethical for Mr. Schlegel to use his authority within the community and to use his time at his office, where he's being paid by, in part, the board and the council to do his duties. For him to try and strong arm and scare seniors into signing this petition, I think is just deplorable. I personally know my next door neighbor, who is a widow, who's retiree, who is on a fixed income, told me how she just went down to Harry's office last week, and he got very angry when she said that she supported Regency Park Elementary. And he was, she said she got very animated, just like he is this evening, telling her how her taxes are going to go up and it's all because of the school. And I just think that that is really a shame. We cannot shoulder the tax increase and all of this burden on the families of Regency Park Elementary. It is not fair and it is not true. If taxes go up, it is going to be to cover all of the expenses of the district, including expenses that have already been paid for to build other schools in other parts of Plum, and the bus garage, et cetera, to cover rising costs. It's the duty of the board as needed to raise taxes, and I don't feel that it's fair or unwarranted in this situation. We need a tax increase, and we need the board to be fiscally responsible. And it's irresponsible to go from 5 elementary schools to 3 elementary schools when we so desperately need to keep that school in our community to not only benefit the children of Regency Park, but all of Plum. We cannot afford to be non-competitive in this environment. Nowadays, we can't have families saying, the class sizes in Plum are too high because you're cramming all these kids into 3 schools. Let's just, abandon Plum and go to another school. Let's go to Franklin, or let's go to Gateway, or let's go to another school in the area who has smaller class sizes. Our scores are good at Regency Park, and that is because we've had such a great school and great teachers. And I know that would be the same in other schools in Plum. However, we can't afford to lose that community feel that we have in our neighborhood. We can't afford to have families be disillusioned with the Plum Borough School District and leave our district. It makes no sense whatsoever. And I really ask that the board look at all of the facts and not just look at a bunch of scared signatures on a piece of paper tonight, because those do not reflect the reality of the situation. I thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Price, would you please explain to the citizens what the role of the tax collector in the community is? Do I have any legislative powers? Do I have any legislative powers?
Let me say it this way. In Pennsylvania, all school districts, unless they are in a home rule community, are required to use the elected tax collector to collect their taxes. The elected tax collector is responsible for his or her own office, etc., or any staff they have. And their duty is to collect the taxes and turn them over to the municipality and the school district. And that's his sole function of his elected office.
So I have no power, legislative or otherwise, in the community as a tax collector.
You may have a power of persuasion, but legislative, no.
Therefore, I have no power. If talking to people and pointing out facts, and you could please bring your neighbor down. I'd like to see who she is and speak with her, because I told people there's a petition outside my office. It's against, and they ask, is it against Regency? Yes. You can sign it or not sign it. I went over and entered their payments into the machine, into the computer, never talked to them again. So I didn't browbeat anybody, and please bring the people to me. I'll meet with you afterwards. I'll meet with you anytime you want, anywhere. Please bring those people and let them tell me what I said to them, because I know what I said. I've been saying it for 2.5 weeks.
Hi, I'm Amy Bocherry. I was just wondering if you guys can give me the status on Joe Tomarello's seat that is vacant, and you guys were deadlocked on filling that position. Has it gone to the magistrate yet? Is there any, or are we going to drag this out till November?
The board obviously still has not filled it, and as far as we know, nobody has requested the Court of Common Pleas to fill it.
So who has to request
The board
that?
doesn't take action.
Okay.
The citizens take action.
So I can go and submit that to the magistrate?
No.
Common pleas.
You have to go to the Court of Common Pleas, and you need 10 resident taxpayers.
All right, I'll get on that, thanks.
Could I have your address, please?
It's on record like 5 times, but it's 309 Aberdeen Drive.
I appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am.
Just to refresh, this is comments for the board on non-agenda items. So if you have additional comments for the board, please come forward.
My name is Bill Ferguson. I live at 55 Wayside Lane. Before I get into my prepared remarks, I'm going to tell you that Harry Schlegel did not collect all of those petitions. I personally am responsible for 99 of them, and I didn't do it in anybody's office. I did it in my own community. No pressure, just explain the story. I believe the citizens of Plum deserve to know all the options that the school board has considered before they go ahead with a new Regency Park building. Before you commit to spending 10 or 12 or $14 million on new bricks and mortar, have you looked at other ways to to educate the students. Is this the best way to spend a lot of money? Remember that our student population is shrinking, not expanding. I do not know all the details of your work. Perhaps you have investigated other possibilities and chosen the best, but it does not look that way from the outside. It looks like the school board is yielding to the loud voices of a neighborhood pressure group, a group that wants a better deal for themselves than is available in any other area of Plum. So, is it better to spend $1 million a year for the next 30 years on debt service for a building that we do not need than to spend the same $1 million on education, on programs that will prepare the students for adult life? There are obviously other options than a new building for Regency Park. There are enough empty seats in the other 3 elementary buildings to accommodate all the Regency Park students, and there would still be about 80 empty seats. It's probably not that easy because some grades might be overcrowded and others still have a lot of vacancies. But it is worth a serious look. Another choice is to build a small addition at Center School, which might be done without any new borrowing, without any increase in the debt service cost. If I, here on the outside, can identify possibilities that save $1 million a year for real education, can't the school board, with all its resources, find some even better ways to do it? In summary, the citizens of Plum want their school board to resist being stampeded into authorizing a new Regency Park building. Take a deep breath. Go back to the beginning. Take a serious look at the whole of the Plum school system. Decide what the biggest problems are. Define several options for dealing with those problems. Expose those options to the community scrutiny. Listen to the comments. Somebody may have a good idea that you didn't think of. At the end, do the right thing for Plum. Remember, you are the Plum School Board, not the Regency Park School Board. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Beth Gracie. I live at 641 Regency Drive. And I just came up just because I just felt that I needed to clarify some things that the gentleman who was just here was stating. First and foremost, never once before all of this began did any of the members of Regency Park Elementary School or that area of Plum say that we had to have a new school. That we had to have a new school. We just wanted our school to stay open. You, as the board, are the ones who voted to give us a new school. You guys made that choice. Therefore, all we are doing is holding you accountable. That is all we are doing, and that is all we are asking for. If Regency Park does close, at this time, if the information that I have been given is correct, there are classrooms in the other schools in our district that have 26 or more kids. So then what's going to happen with all of our kids that we have in our school? Our classrooms then going to go up over 30 plus kids per classroom? Because that, in my opinion, and I'm sure in most educators' opinion, is not a good way to educate any child. I do know that we had children that left our school this year, the 6th graders that had the option of staying in their own school, who had initially planned to go to Regency. But because we only had one classroom, due to the ruling that you guys made, which was fine, that they were allowed to stay in their own schools for this 6th grade year with the redistricting. I know that a few of those kids have now left due to the fact that there is only one classroom. So I think that our numbers may appear to be low, but I think if the redistricting had done a little bit different, I think that Regency's numbers would have definitely gone up. There are kids who are directly behind a plan that is going to Regency that are going to Center, and they are on this side of Davidson. It's the entire Edgemead plan. They should be going to our school. It's all about the redistricting. It's all about the way the redistricting was done, and it makes us look bad. It also makes us look bad when people like our own elected tax collector say that the reason taxes are going up is solely because of Regency Park Elementary, and that is just not true. It is just not true. And I beg you, as the board, who is in charge of our kids and in charge of what is best for our community and our district, to please make that clear to everyone, that if taxes do go up, it is not just because of Regency Park. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tracy Riggin, 712 Garlow. Quite honestly, I am so tired of coming to these meetings. I am so tired of talking about this subject. You made a promise, you went back on it. Okay, so we're fighting. But for Mr. Schlegel to sit there and take a petition where I would venture to guess is primarily senior citizens that walk into that building, sign that petition, is ridiculous. And this fixed income crap, I'm on a fixed income. I work 40 hours a week. My paycheck does not change. To me, that is a fixed income. It has nothing to do with because I get it from the government or I don't. I still am on a fixed income. I believe every citizen in America is on a fixed income, except maybe Donald Trump. Secondly, for him to sit there and say that taxes are going to go up based on interest, is he aware that no matter what you do, you have to place 260-some kids somewhere? You do not have the space in these other existing buildings, so it has to be built somewhere. Whether it's a new Regency, it's an addition on Center, who knows? You guys may come up with the idea to build an addition on the new Holiday Park, because, I mean, who knows? But a building has to be built for us, a space, a building. Taxes are going to go up. So it doesn't matter if it's that building, if it's an addition, money is going to be spent, taxes are going to go up. So why is he attacking these people that are coming to his building and making it seem like we are crying and moaning and groaning and taxes are only going to go up because of us? No, you're tearing down our school in November. You already voted on that. The building, it's fenced, it's done, it's good as gone. So obviously you have to put us somewhere. You can't keep us in a school that you already voted that, I mean, well, not voted for, but said it's not really good and it's going to get torn down at some point. You closed it for a reason, so you can't keep us there indefinitely. At that point, you would probably have to redistrict again and put people that live in Holiday Park back in that building. So you still have to put us somewhere. Taxes are going up. That's all.
Thank you.
Andrew Drake, I own property at 1080 Bulkin Drive. I got two things I want to talk about. The first one is I'm deeply offended, and I'm sure Mr. McMasters is also equally offended, to find out that our names are excluded from the dedication plaque at the new Holiday Park Elementary School. Mr. McMasters and I were key supporters in the building of that new school, rather than the renovation of Adley Stevenson and the old Holiday Park. And in fact, I'm the one as board president who initiated discussions, as well as proposed several cost savings options, including the reduction of the architect engineering fees from 6% to 3% because the building had already been designed, and all they had to do was come up with a new foundation. When the new pivot was built, the previous board members who were involved in that, their names were included on a dedication plaque. And in fact, one of the previous board members, Mr. Jeff Russo, came to a board meeting to ensure that their names were on that plaque, and their names were on that plaque in a certain manner that was most agreeable to him. Unfortunately, it seems that Mr. McMasters and I we were a little bit more that the board would just continue with the same process, and we wouldn't have to come to a board meeting to tell you that our name should have been on that plaque too. The board needs to take immediate actions to have a new plaque made
and installed on that school. And if you decide to build another new school, you need to make sure that any previous board members involved in that discussion and construction, they're also included on those plaques, and that they don't have to come to a board meeting to bring this to your attention. The other thing I want to talk about is Regency, because I've been involved in all of the discussions, attended all the meetings for the 2 years prior to and for the 4 years that I was on the board. The demographic studies for the last 20 years have been pretty accurate in predicting a continuing decrease in the student population. Over the last 15 years, it's gone from a little over 4,500 to just around 3,900. This hasn't changed. It's been pretty much dead on. The district has an excess of student capacity, and you're wasting valuable taxpayers' money. There's no way anyone on this board can show a cost benefit to the taxpayers for building a new Regency Park, which is a 2-round capacity building. Look at the financial facts. The construction costs, capitalization, interest, all that stuff for a new elementary Regency Park is about $14 million. You would have to borrow that money. That means you're going to have to pay interest on it, and that means it's going to cost the taxpayers around an additional $500,000, because you're not going to close any schools. You're going to still have 4 elementary schools. The new Holiday Park was built for around $15 million. It was paid for by a cost savings. There were no new taxes to build that school. I don't care what anybody says they think. I know for a fact the closing of the Holiday Park, the old Holiday Park, was going to yield between $700,000 to $800,000. That was clear in the Act 34 meeting. The interest payments on the new Holiday Park is less than that. So there was no need for any taxes or any taxes ever to be increased for the new Holiday Park. It paid for itself. It was a consolidation of 2 to 1. The new Holiday Park is a 4-round classroom. The new Regency would be a 2-round. For $1 million more, you get twice as much. Anybody would tell you that that's a good deal. The current district elementary school capacity is 13 rounds. The current enrollment requires only 11, and that's with an average classroom size of just under 28. So currently, you have an overcapacity. You have 13, you only need 11. So there are other longer-term options for the district. One option has been discussed before. You could build an addition onto Center Elementary and increase the size of the necessary support facilities like the cafeteria and such. And that cost is estimated by around $8 to $9 million. You probably have enough money left to cover most of that, but a slight tax increase might be required. There's another longer, more strategic, and being an engineer by training, I like to think of things strategically and longer term other than 2 or 3 years down the road. The other longer term would be keep the students in Regency for another 2 more years, move the Center students to Holiday Park, tear down Center, build a brand new Center, just like Holiday Park, and pivot. The construction design is already done. You have 2 foundation designs, so I'm quite sure one of those 2 with a slight modification would fall into that area. Closing Regency will yield you savings of at least $600,000 to $700,000, and the cost for the bond is around $500,000, excluding any state reimbursement. So by building a new center and closing Regency, you'd be able to fund it without having to raise any taxes. This option is the one that I think would serve the district and the taxpayers best for the long-term part of the district. If the population does happen to go up somewhat, you still have capacity with 12 rounds. If the population doesn't continue to go up, you have a little bit of capacity, but you're only paying for 3 buildings instead of 4. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Diane Merrill, 506 Sandstone Court. Unfortunately, it seems the Plum Borough School District is continuing to experience division and controversy. While Regency School has been a hot topic of late, please let us not forget our students, teachers, and staff at Plum Senior High School. Getting emotional. With the upcoming 2015-16 school year ready to begin, I am here tonight to speak to the board about what actions our district is prepared to take in light of the still pending controversy surrounding the high school. Over the last few months, I have made an effort to watch many of the televised school board meetings, and on many occasions, the words "we were promised" were used when referring to Regency's school issue. As a parent of a child attending Plum High School, I believe I was also promised, albeit an unspoken and undocumented promise, certain reasonable expectations when it comes to my child's well-being and education in this school district. If there was or is a culture issue or problem in the high school, it needs to have ended with those who left the building. There needs to be absolutely no staff member left who is a part of this perceived culture that apparently has existed in that school for years. If there are, they need to be removed immediately. This is the unspoken promise that everyone expects and deserves no matter what building we are discussing. Promises need to be kept, and I am sure that there are formal and informal deadlines that exist with regard to action with the Regency School. I think we need to realize and insist that there be deadlines for action imposed at the high school as well. And we are all keenly aware that there is still grand jury testimony happening, as well as the upcoming scheduled trials of former Plum teachers. We are all collateral damage in the events that have transpired. Most of us had nothing to do with or knowledge of the events that had occurred. Yet as a community, we are all being judged by those events. I can speak to this personally from a recent college visit we had at Duquesne University. The mere mention of attending Plum High School brought stares and commentary during the course of our visit. I must have been naive to think that several months later, mentioning Plum High School would not turn heads and elicit commentary, even in that environment. As a parent, it was truly an embarrassing and sad moment to have my son ask me if he should state he attends Plum High School. I was sorry moments later that I was the one who told him to do so. Apparently, Plum School District is being watched, as most people in this group and lecture hall were from outside of the immediate Pittsburgh area. That being said, and being aware of the potential maelstrom heading our way this fall, with grand jury inevitably returning and trials that are scheduled, I ask the board, what are we prepared to do when this storm hits? And please do not insult my intelligence by stating once again that you cannot speak to the nature of this ongoing investigation and matters surrounding it. We are all very aware that you cannot speak to these issues. What you should be able to speak to is, yes, we are aware, and we're working with teachers, staff, and others to ensure that we are ready with guidance and answers for parents, students, our community, and the media. We're putting certain protocols in place to limit or minimize the damage this storm will bring. Please listen again to my questions. What are we prepared to do when the storm hits? And what are we doing to repair and recover from these events in a proactive fashion? As I said when I addressed the board in the spring, by remaining silent, we allow our critics and others to fill in the blanks. People outside of the Plum community have their own idea or perception of what Plum High School is all about. I know we cannot control what people say or think. What we can control is our response and put a face to Plum High School that people can identify with. Give them something that shows who and what we are. Parents willing to fight for our children and their schools, teachers and staff willing to inspire and educate, and finally a school board supporting its community and tackling these issues head-on and leading as an example to other communities who may find themselves in similar circumstances. It takes a village to raise a child, and we are that village. I sincerely hope that the newly established Safe Schools Committee is ready and willing to act quickly and effectively on our behalf. And finally, the personal favorite quote states, "Be the change that you wish to see in the world." Each of us has an internal compass. I am asking you to re-examine why you chose to become a member of this school board. Hopefully it was to affect change and to make a difference. I do not walk in your shoes, and I am not here to point fingers or to blame any one person or condemn you as a group. I am simply asking, as I did before, to help be the change we wish to see in the small world of Plum Borough. I believe there is strength in numbers. Call upon your community and use your people and resources that exist here in Plum and our neighboring communities to help make this happen. We are embarking on a new school year. Let's set the record straight and show that we are prepared and have learned lessons and gained insight from these disturbing and destructive events. You know the next storm is coming. What are we prepared to do? Thank you.
Thank you.
Jennifer Kearney, 417 Mower Drive, and I really just have one simple question, and it's this. Can we go back to the old Regency Park? Because a lot of the suggestions are, let's just put them all back into Regency. Well, can we? Because there's a problem right there, and I don't know that the public fully understands why we are so frustrated. As somebody already stated, this was voted on in March, and now we feel like we've been lied to. And not only were we lied to, but now we don't have a plan for these Regency children. They're being bused across the town, across Plum to go to the old holiday park. We were fine with that. That was with the promise of a new building. Fine. We don't know if we're getting a new building at this point, and we can't go back to our old building. So our kids are sitting in an old school. They have to get on a bus to get there. And I want to say, because people seem to think we have a problem with their kids being on a bus. That's not our problem. Our problem is we don't have a permanent school right now. Nobody will tell us that we're getting a new school, and nobody will tell us that we can go back to Regency. It's frustrating. Our kids are sitting there, and everybody thinks they have an opinion on how to fix this. And one of the opinions is, let's just send them back to Regency. And when I say, can we go back to Regency, everybody just stares at me. So I think you need to just understand some of the parents' frustration here, because we did not ask for a new school. We did not. The board started looking into options for a new school or to renovate. We went through all these discussions. I would hope the data you have now should not have changed much since the March vote when you voted to rebuild. And so now our children are in a school waiting for a new school, and we're not sure we're getting that school, and I don't know where I'm telling my child he's going next year. So if the public thinks that we are just asking for a neighborhood school because everybody else got a new school, they are being misled. That is not what is happening. We are angry because our kids are being lied to, and that's what I feel, and I don't want to speak for the entire community, but I feel like my child sat in that meeting in March, myself, my child, and he was told he was getting a new school. So now the public wants to try and say that we're just these angry parents that are demanding a school. That's not what happened. And I just want to ask, can we go back to Regency? Nobody will answer me, so thank you.
Thank you.
Mike Fisher, 424 Allegheny Avenue. Dr. Glassball, I just have a question for you. Has the board ever seriously considered less than 4 schools as a vote? Because I seem to recall you saying before that you really did not. There was never an actual vote on any plans that had less than 4 schools. Is that correct?
Correct.
That is correct. Okay. So that would go back to Mr. Drake's administration as well, right? I just want to get that out there because he was on the board when that decision would have been originally made.
To my knowledge, no.
Yeah, to your knowledge. Okay. The other thing is, no, but you were on the board when the original vote was for how many plans there were for the different schools. No, Regency wasn't voted on, but the plan for what to do with the schools was. I was at the meeting.
Again, it's your chance to speak to the board.
I was addressed from behind me, so. The other question would be, would there even be enough capacity in Holiday Park, which would be the only building standing once the other 2 are destroyed, to even house Center, to entertain an idea of having only 3 schools? Would that even be a possibility? Is there enough capacity at Holiday Park, where the Regency kids are at now, to even house Center and Regency in that school, given that you're going to destroy the other schools here in a matter of months? Is there enough capacity to house that many kids in that one particular school?
Mr. Fisher, you asking me?
Yeah, I'm addressing it to the board.
All right. I don't know if the board wants to answer. I think we're just taking comments now, Mr. Fisher. I know that.
Okay. Thank you. I just want to make those points.
Thank you.
Karen Sotes, 1000 Lochern Court. I really wasn't prepared to say anything, but I do understand the frustration from the Regency Park parents. They felt like the promises were made to them and that they didn't even ask for the school, but it was promised. On the flip side, as a taxpayer, I also heard promises that there would be fiscal accountability. I moved in here 4 years ago from Penn Hills. The first year, within 1 month of moving in and closing on my home, my assessment was appealed by the school board. went down. Actually, my husband went down. I had just been diagnosed with cancer. Talked to the lawyers, they said, we're only asking for 85% of the sale price. Okay, fine, whatever. That was the least of my concern. The next year, the county assessed me. It was lower than what the school district asked for. They appealed again. Long story short, fast forward 4 years later, I'm now at 100% of my sale price. My taxes have gone up consecutively. Not only myself and 80% of the community, but teachers included, have all been down at the county courthouse appealing their assessments. We want what's fair. I understand there are people that are on fixed incomes. I'm not a senior citizen. My husband and I both work. We are willing to pay our fair share, but 100% plus raising taxes on 14 million plus the pension that's coming due, $19 million of debt. There has got to be a better solution than what you people have come up with so far. I hope you carefully consider the needs of this community. It's this community that put you in office, and that's what you need to think about, what's fair for everyone, including the students, but including the people that have to pay for it. Thank you.
Thanks for your comments.
Any additional comments? There being none, Dr. Glass, pull the agenda, please.
Facilities Committee, Mr. Rich Zuko, Chair. Approve the use of facilities requests as presented.
On behalf of the committee, I'd like to make that recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries.
Recommend approval of GOB invoices as presented.
On behalf of the committee, I'd like to make that recommendation also.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries.
Recommend approval to accept the agreement with USGA and Plum Borough School District as presented.
On behalf of the committee, I'd like to make that recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries.
Recommend approval to waive policy 707, use of facilities for the USGA for the following Sundays, May 1, 15, and 22, 2016.
On behalf of the committee, I'd like to make that recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries.
The Facilities Committee met on August 4th, 2015. Mr. Zuko will make this report.
One thing I'd like to mention is, for those who didn't attend, we had a very, very nice dedication of the new Holiday Park School. We had a tremendous turnout, and I saw a lot of happy parents and a lot of happy students. Everything should be ready by the beginning of the school year, which is next week, so I'd like everybody to have a safe first week back at school and every week thereafter.
Thank you. Rich, can I just make a couple comments? There were some questions there. First about going back to Regency Park. As far as I know, there's still an occupancy permit for that building. So I'm not sure whether it's structurally sound or not, but the occupancy permit still exists. I don't think the borough has pulled that as yet. Second question is, old Holiday Park big enough to house both the students from Center and Regency? And the answer is no, it's not big enough.
That would be like 700 students.
Yes, so that it is not big enough to do that. People talked about class size and putting an addition on Center School. You know, that's a real quick mathematical calculation for administration to do for the board and for the community. You take the population that you have at Center, take the population you have at Regency, add those two together, divide by 4 runs, and you get an average class size. And
well, those two numbers, though, are 707. If we take Center and Regency Park, that school would have to occupy 707 students.
if you divide it by 4 rounds,
Right.
you have to look at the class size.
The average class size would be
Yeah.
27.8,
Right.
which would be on
It's a little large.
Almost 20
For
acres,
certain
you
grades.
can't cut a kid
But,
in
you know,
half.
class size is just not the only predictor of a good education. We know that. But anyway, that's a mathematical thing for us to do, and that's probably an exercise that we'll be doing in the near future. Mr. Drake, the plaque, I agree with you, and I have to apologize. We did that for the previous board, and we will try to get a vote on that tonight to redo that plaque, and again, I apologize. Let's see, what other questions can I ask? We talked about taxes and millage and things of that nature. Tomorrow at the Act 34 hearing, all the information and the financial ability of this district to build that school will be discussed by actually the citizens. So I urge everybody to come to the Act 34 meeting tomorrow here at 6 o'clock, I believe.
6 o'clock here.
6 o'clock here. And you will have time for comments. If you need to pre-register your comment, I think Ms. Vento is taking pre-registrations.
Do we have any at this time?
You can sign up ahead of time to reserve, or is it no, it's too late now.
Today's the deadline. Is anyone signed up?
Even if you didn't sign up to speak,
Yeah.
you will still be given an opportunity. It's just that those who signed up will be the first people to speak.
Right.
We're limiting time. We're limiting comments to 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
So it's a 5-minute time limit on comments.
Well, one of the questions too was, while you're answering questions, the current Holiday Park Regency Park students that are in the old Holiday Park, would they be able to fit back in the old Regency Park? They keep asking that question.
I'm not sure what you mean.
Like, the 250 students, would they be able to fit back into the, we've redistricted that school, so,
I'm not sure there are enough classrooms. In other words, there
So
are,
no.
but I'm not 100%. I haven't looked at it.
Okay.
Okay. That's it. Thanks, Rich. I didn't mean that. There were some questions that people wanted cleared up.
All right.
Did you say we're going to vote on the plaque tonight?
I think we should do that.
Yes, I do too.
You know, I think we did that for the previous board, and that was a...
Just tell me what names you'd like to add, and
Okay.
we'll get a new plaque.
I'd like to make that recommendation. I
Tell me
think.
what names you'd like to add onto the plaque.
Okay, fair. We can get that. We'll get that together for you. We can change it.
Okay.
Okay.
Next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, September 8, 2015, following the policy meeting in the high school boardroom. Personnel Committee, Mr. Kevin Dell, Chair. Recommend approval to rescind the July 21 board motions to hire the following individuals as listed.
On behalf of the committee, I'd like to make that motion.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries.
Recommend approval to accept the retirement of Charlene Boney, food service worker, retroactive to August 17, 2015.
On behalf of the committee, I'd like to make that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries.
Recommend approval to hire Nicole Pasqualini, speech and language pathologist, at the contracted rate, effective August 26, 2015.
On behalf of the committee, I'd like to make that motion.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes, I'd like to abstain from this.
Okay. We have one abstention. Any other further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries.
Recommend approval to hire the following part-time custodians at the contracted rate, effective August 31, 2015. Michelle Tremuska.
On behalf of the committee, I'd like to make that motion.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries.
Recommend approval to hire Krista Varley, substitute special education teacher, beginning September 4, 2015 through January 8, 2016, at a per diem rate of $100.
On behalf of the committee, I'd like to make that motion.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed say no. Motion carries.
Recommend approval to hire Ronald Knight, bus driver, effective August 26, 2015, at the contracted rate.
On behalf of the committee, I'd like to make that motion.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries.
Recommend approval to create the following food service positions, effective August 31, as listed.
On behalf of the committee, I'd like to make that motion.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries.
Recommend approval to hire the following food service workers effective August 31, 2015, as listed.
On behalf of the committee, I'd like to make that motion.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries.
Recommend approval to accept the leave request pursuant to the Public School Code for Shannon Cummings, special education teacher at Pivot Elementary School for the spring semester 2015.
On behalf of the committee, I'd like to make that motion.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries.
Recommend approval to accept the leave of Mrs. Amy Palumbo, guidance counselor at Pivot Elementary School, beginning on or about November 9 through February 2, 2016.
On behalf of the committee, I'd like to make that motion.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries.
Recommend approval to accept the leave of Wade Campbell, special education teacher at Holiday Park Elementary School, beginning on or about September 8 through September 11, 2015.
On behalf of the committee, I'd like to make that motion.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries.
Recommend approval to accept the following leaves as listed.
On behalf of the committee, I'd like to make that motion.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries.
Recommend approval to accept Lindsay Shulo as the 7 through 12 English Language Arts Department Chair at a stipend of $2,116 for the 2015-16 school year.
On behalf of the committee, I'd like to make that motion.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries.
Recommend approval of the following band volunteer sponsors retroactive to August 10, 2015 as listed.
On behalf of the committee, I'd like to make that motion.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries.
Education Committee, Mrs. Michelle Gallagher, Chair. Recommend approval to accept the Project Lead the Way Launch Program Consortia Grant of $2,000 for the 15-16 school year.
On behalf of the committee, I'd like to make that recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries.
Recommend approval of the overnight conference request for Ryan Casilla, high school principal, as presented.
On behalf of the committee, I'd like to make that recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries.
Recommend approval to accept the research study requests as listed.
On behalf of the committee, I'd like to make that recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I'm going to vote no on this. I've repeatedly said we need to have an institutional review board for any studies that involve anything that goes on in this school district, or especially students. So I'm going to be a no vote. With that being said, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No.
Recommend approval to accept the following textbooks as listed.
On behalf of the committee, I would like to make that recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed say no. Motion carries.
The Education Committee met on August 4th. Mrs. Gallagher will make this report.
Yes, just to give a brief overview, the Project Lead the Way, the consortium grant of $2,000, that's going to be for our fifth graders throughout the school district in their STEM program. I also wanted to make that, we did have a Title I update from Mr. Nisley with Pivot was a 3% shortfall for Title I, and we did apply for that, correct?
The waiver, yes.
The waiver, and it is on our website. I did notice that it was
Yes.
on our website, so I did want to make mention of that. School is August 31st, so we look forward to a very positive, safe learning environment this year. And to give out the dates again for the open houses, September 15th is the elementary open house. September 16th is the junior high, and September 17th is the high school. Thank you.
Can I just say a word, Michelle?
Oh, you know what I did want to mention, though? I did want to mention the safe and supportive schools. I was just going to piggyback that a little bit with the Education Committee. We did meet on August 5th. I noticed that it was not in the agenda this evening, but we did have a very successful meeting with a lot of different community members, diverse backgrounds, people with wonderful credentials. We had male, female, young, old, middle-aged, everybody, and we all came together as a community with some really wonderful sentiments in some direction and communication, and just to, raise our level of communication with our school board, with our school district, and, to answer some of Mrs. Merrill's suggestions, and I did reach out with her today to be part of the committee, because I believe that no ideas are going to be bad ones. I think that we all are learning from so much from this past year, and we will continue to learn, as a board, as a school district, and to be Plum proud, and continue with this school year on a positive note. I look forward to it, and I look forward to meeting again with the committee. We haven't picked a date yet, but I'm thinking it's going to be the end of September, maybe the first week of October. That was some of the ideas or the dates that we were putting out there. So we look forward to that.
Thank you.
Could you just mention, Michelle, I know we had a conversation about this, our PSSA scores and what's happened across the state to prepare the community? I mean, it's...
Right. Well, I've been preparing the community since March about this. We did change the PSSAs this year with the new Common Core, and a lot of the teachers on, the elementary level definitely were, trying really hard because it completely changed. The PSSAs completely changed this year with adding of the Common Core. Across the state, we are looking at lower numbers, and they're looking okay, I think, in the English language arts area, but I think the math scores were something of definitely going to need improvement. So I think that at the Education Committee meeting that we have on September 1st, we're going to talk more in depth about the PSSA, but I truly believe that I'm not a fan of the PSSAs, and I've always said that, so I am a fan of some type of measurement for our students. However, I look for realistic measurements of our students across the state. We'll discuss this more in the September 1st education meeting.
Thank you. The state scores are, the average for reading, the number of proficient students has decreased 9.5%. The average number of proficient in mathematics has decreased 35%.
That's the state average.
That's the state average. And these are numbers that we're concerned the board. We're going to have to look at these. We're going to look for a comprehensive plan from administration about not only the Pennsylvania Common Core, which I think we've done a pretty good job in staying on top of, but clearly there are some issues that we're going to have to address. And that could mean resources, time, and focus for this district.
Yeah, I look forward to the discussion on September 1st at the education meeting.
Yeah. Thank you. I just wanted to mention that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, September 1 at 6 p.m. in the high school boardroom. Finance Committee, Ms. Michelle Stepnick, Chair. Recommend approval to accept the Treasurer's Report and bill payments for the month of July 2015.
On behalf of the committee, I'd like to make that motion.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries.
Delinquent real estate taxes received from Andrews & Price for July 2015, $172,935.16. Recommend approval of the resolution to change the official address of the Plum Borough Foundation for Educational Enhancement Incorporated as presented.
On behalf of the committee, I'd like to make that motion.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries.
Recommend approval to settle the commercial tax appeal assessment for parcel number 533B65 as presented.
On behalf of the committee, I'd like to make that motion.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Significant dollars. That's $84,000 for us. So. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries.
The Finance Committee met on August 4th, 2015. The next meeting is September 22 at 6 p.m. in the high school boardroom. Policy Committee, Ms. Loretta White, Chair. Recommend approval to accept the following policies as listed.
On behalf of the committee, I make that recommendation.
Second. Motion. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, I just want to say that the modification that we're making to our organizational chart is simply to add the Safe and Supportive Schools Committee to the chart. So, you know, we're off and running with that, as Michelle told us, and so we have to make a modification in our organizational chart.
Thank you.
Okay?
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries.
Policy Committee met on August 4th, 2015. Ms. White, do you have anything to add to the report?
Yes, I do. We again discussed Policy 707. Surprise, surprise. We decided to keep the policy as is concerning Sunday use of facilities, and we decided that we would then, you know, if anybody needs to use our facilities on Sunday, we would consider it on a case-by-case basis. We also discussed use of the O-Block track. There was some concern about bicycles and skateboarders using the track. And while our policy states, our facility policy states that there should be no wheeled vehicles on the track, that's kind of hard to do, particularly when you're talking about, you know, mothers who are using strollers and walking the track, which I think is kind of a nice thing to do. I did go up to the track, and I saw several of the people who were walking up there, and they didn't seem to mind, you know, the fact that the bicycles were up there. So I think what we need to do is probably just wait and see how it works out. I mean, it seems like nobody really cared. I don't know. We got an email where somebody was saying that, you know, maybe the skateboards were a problem, maybe the bicycles were a problem, but that several times that I went up there, it didn't seem to be. So, I don't know, does anybody have a comment
Well,
on that?
I
Kevin?
don't think they should put bikes and
You don't?
skateboards on the track. Strollers, I don't have a problem with that, but I think it might be a safety issue. And
Yeah, but how do we do that? I mean, you know, our policy says wheeled vehicles on any of our tracks. You know, that's the high school, that would be O-Block, that would be any track that we would put in. Do we change the policy, or do we just say no bicycles? I guess you could. I guess you could make a sign that says no bicycles and skateboarding.
usually there are signs by tracks that kind of give the general rules. But I think it's a safety issue. Plus, the high school track, it's not the type of track it is. I think bicycle would tear
You
up
don't want
the
any kind of
track.
wheels on the high school track.
Pardon me?
You don't want any kind of wheels on the high school
No,
track.
it would
It's
damage
not
the
designed for
wheels.
that.
track.
Not
Well,
designed
that's
for
what well, then why would you allow them on the
But it's a different
O-Block?
type of surface on that.
It's the
I thought there was a
macadam.
sign that there, didn't Tom mention that there was a sign that basically stated all those things?
I didn't see a sign, and I asked the people up there, and they said, I mean, unless there was a sign and somebody took it down. I mean, that probably could be discussed in facilities.
Yeah, since we put the new fence up, maybe the sign went with the old fence and nobody
Yeah,
replaced
maybe
it.
taken down.
That's a possibility. But yeah, I think we should look into that.
Yeah, maybe we can just have a sign that says no skateboarding and no bicycling
I mean,
on there.
especially with all the new blacktop, there's so much area for bicycles and skateboarding. I don't see why using the track would be of any importance to anyone.
Yeah.
I'd rather be up in the blacktop where it has a lot more open space than going around in a circle that's only so many feet wide.
Well,
my personal
the
feeling.
thing with the mothers and the strollers, I don't
Oh,
mind
yeah.
them being
Oh,
on the
yeah.
track, because that would be a safety issue. You know, I wouldn't want a child or a mother to be run over by a car, you know,
As usual, a lot of things
or a
boil down
bicycle.
to
You're
safety
right,
issues.
touche.
It only takes one incident to injure somebody.
Okay.
We're gonna
All
move
righty,
it to
well, maybe we can,
facilities?
pardon me?
You want to move it to facilities?
Yeah, I think we should, and
Okay.
see if we can get a sign, some signage.
Okay.
Is there signage in the high school track? I don't walk up there.
I thought there was.
We'll double check on it.
Yeah, well, maybe we can look
Make
at both
sure
tracks
they all
together.
have it.
Okay.
I mean, it's going to need more than one sign, because everybody will say, I never saw the sign, so it's, you know, every entrance, plus along the fences, maybe.
Okay, yeah, but I think we'd have to definitely just say bicycles and skateboarding. I mean, the way our policy is written, it's wheeled vehicles, and I think that's a little too broad.
Okay.
Okay,
We'll discuss it in facilities.
that's all I have, thank you.
Thank you. Can we go back to finance just for a second? There was a couple things that I did want to let the public know about. Number one, of course, you know there's no state budget. This is day 56 or 57. with no state budget. Gene, can you give us an update on our cash flow as a district? I know some districts are having some problems. How do we stand in our cash flow?
As of last Thursday, we collected $3.73 million from real estate taxes. Spoke with Mr. Schlegel today. Conservatively, he'll turn over a check for about $1.5 million 2 days from now on Thursday. It'll take us about 8.8. The state is not going to hold up our $1,653,000 for the homestead farmstead. We get that in 2 payments. So by the end of July, we should have $850-some thousand in change. If you look at the expenditures, it's about 1.6 million. So our cash flow is good. Typically, the real estate, EIT, earned income tax, and the homestead farmstead exclusion money takes us all the way through December. So hopefully, if the budget's settled before that, we're okay. After December, we're going to have problems.
Okay. So right now, we're
We are
okay.
in an excellent cash position right now.
The second thing is the new funding formula for basic education that's been proposed. I think it goes into effect next year.
Yes.
And we need to have, maybe not for this meeting, but maybe for the next meeting, a slide presentation for the community so they understand what's going to happen to Plum Borough.
Yes. I did have a conversation with Mrs. Stepnick late this morning. She indicated that she has viewed some slide projections by PSBA, and I'm sure there's going to be some changes in the interim, but she did suggest the same thing that you just said for the September Finance Committee to make a report.
One of the things that was proposed in the budget was charter school reform. And I have a question for the solicitor. Since the state's not paying us, do we have to pay pursers?
Yes, we do.
No, okay. Do we have to pay the charter schools? And since that's still up, I know there's been some school districts that have taken that to task.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Well, all they're doing is postponing it because the state's allowed to take it directly from their subsidy if they don't pay.
Okay. All right.
So they're paying one way or another, even though the subsidy payments haven't been issued. So I guess there is a postponement.
Postponement. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Gene. Appreciate it very much. Sorry for the interruption. I had those 2 things on my list.
Okay, I'm going to
Okay.
pick back up on the Athletic Committee. Mr. John St. Ledger, Chair. Recommend approval to accept the resignation of Adam Zarmak, Junior High Assistant Football Coach for the 15-16 season.
On behalf of the committee, I'll make that recommendation.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries.
Recommend approval to accept the resignation of Dilbert Tyler, Plum High School Volunteer Assistant Football Coach for the 15-16 season.
On behalf of the committee, I'll make that recommendation.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries.
Recommend approval to hire Nathan Rabovich, Junior High Assistant Football Coach for the 15-16 season at a stipend of $3,704.
On behalf of the committee, I'll make that recommendation.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries.
Recommend approval to accept Eric Say, Volunteer Assistant Slow Pitch Softball Coach for the 2015-16 season.
On behalf of the committee, I'll make that recommendation.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries.
Recommend approval to hire the following coaches for the winter 2015-16 season at the contracted rates as listed.
On behalf of the committee, I'll make that recommendation.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries.
Recommend approval to accept the following volunteer coaches for the 2015-16 winter season as listed.
On behalf of the committee, I'll make that recommendation.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries.
Food Service and Nutrition Committee. Does anyone wish to make any comments? Transportation Committee, Mr. Tom McGuff, Chair. Eastern Area Schools, Mrs. Laura White, Representative. Mrs. White has no report this evening.
We're meeting Thursday.
Legislative Policy Council, Mrs. Michelle Stepnick, Representative. AIU Unit Number 3, Mr. Tom McGuff, Board Member.
Tom did send me a text just to talk about the Safe and Secure Schools report. He just wanted to offer his sincere appreciation for the overwhelming response from the broad cross-section of our community to be involved with the steering committee and for the wonderful ideas that came out in the first meeting. So I just wanted to he had sent that to me, and I forgot.
Thank you. President's report, Mr. Sal Colella. Mr. Colella will make a brief report.
Thank you, Dr. Glasspool. Welcome back, students and families, to the 15-16 school year. I want to thank all our employees, our technicians, custodians, maintenance staff, cafeteria folks, administrative assistants, for preparing our schools for back to school on the 31st. Bus stop information is posted on the website. Student sketches are available through the parent portal. We ask all drivers to be cautious. Our students are coming back to school. Be careful with students getting in and off buses, and drive carefully, please. Please check the district website for specific dates for school pictures, fall assessments, athletic events, and activities. The high school homecoming football game versus Norwin is September 25th. The high school homecoming dance is on September 26th. Open house dates, elementary schools, all elementary schools, is September the 15th. O Block, September the 16th. Plum High School, September 17th. Please check your website for current information and important back-to-school information. I look forward to a great school year. Just a couple other comments. I want to thank everybody for their comments tonight about Regency Park. I think it's important that the community knows that people want to be involved with decisions and decision-making. We heard that from the Regency Parks folks and heard that from the people that signed this petition. Clearly, there's a lot of ideas. And as we go through this Act 34 hearing tomorrow, I hope we hear more ideas and just more feelings about what should be done within the school district. One of the board's strategic directions is always to have parity in the school district. It's tough to put somebody back into an old school like Regency Park, knowing that you have 3 other elementary schools that are air-conditioned, state-of-the-art everything. And that becomes a concern of mine. Parity is so important. It also becomes important to me to know that if I have 19 kindergartners in Center and 18 in Pivot, it's tough to tell the community you're only having 12 and 13 at Pivot. So there's a lot of issues, just issues that become emotional, and things that as a board, we have to make decisions on that sometimes people don't like, and I understand that. But that's why we were elected, make tough decisions. And I look forward to the Act 34 hearing tomorrow. I think that we should put these petitions as part of the record for the Act 34 hearing. I think we need to put the petitions that the Regency Park folks got together as part of that record also. Again, thanks for coming and greatly appreciate all your input.
Thank you. Announcements. The Act 34 hearing for new Regency Park Elementary School is scheduled for Tuesday, tomorrow, August 26th at 6 p.m. here in the high school auditorium. Please limit comments to 5 minutes. Special voting meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, September 1, 2015 at 6 p.m. prior to the Education Committee in the high school boardroom. The regular September board meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, the 29th at 7 o'clock here in the high school auditorium.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second. We have a motion to adjourn and second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries.
Thank you for attending this evening.